So, good morning and welcome. Hopefully, it won't be too distracted. My partner in the back of the house has the music going for her work, so I don't know if you can hear it, but it won't get any louder, I will tell you that. So, good morning, welcome. Oh no, what happened to Candace? She was on and now she's disappeared. Yeah, huh. I know, she was even on with video, which was so wonderful. Huh, all right. Well, hopefully she will pop back on. Gail, I don't know if you have her email and could just shoot her a quick note and
Yeah.
ask what happened. Um, but hopefully she will get back on. She was in her office this morning, so maybe she had some glitch there. So, welcome. We have at least one new person this week. So special welcome to you, Mellis. This is a group that meets every week, and some people come regularly, some people come irregularly, but we always welcome people just to come and go as they can and wish and are inspired to and able to. Oh, and just a reminder, we all may have technological glitches from at any time. I notice because I'm here in the living room of my house that when the bus goes by, sometimes my internet gets a little wonky. So if that happens, it happens. Okay, so here we are in October already. So thinking of autumn poetry, and I came upon this little quote that says, "Change brings with it anticipation. Anticipation brings with it eagerness, perhaps anxiety, but surely uncertainty," which seems to be so very true about the time we are in this particular autumn. It is these spiritual states that the season of autumn may evoke and represent. The task, autumn reminds us, is to approach the season with attentiveness and to approach the uncertainty with flexibility, patience, endurance. A reminder. So, once again, welcome to this circle that we are virtually holding in this square space. We will go around and just, again, as always, our name, where we sit in the universe, and let's just, again, this morning do an image that might describe how you're feeling this morning. Thank you. My image for this morning is when I sit in this space, I am surrounded by images of Kuan Yin and the Buddha. So those are the images that are sitting with me this morning. And just to say, if Candace does come back, we will let her in. And if Kathleen shows up, I will let her in. But usually we don't admit people from the waiting room after 10 after, but since they've both been trying. So I'm going to start today with, of course, I was inspired by the fact that Louise Gluck got the Nobel Prize for Literature. So we will be listening to some of her poems over these next weeks. Her poems some of them are very difficult, and certainly, she's been described as someone who writes dark and intensive work, but not all of it is, but some of it is. So we're going to start with her poem called October, section 1. And just to say, for those of us in California for whom October doesn't seem as cold as it does in other places in the world, just to remember that October is partway through fall and colder in other lands. So October. Is it winter again? Is it cold again? Didn't Frank just slip on the ice? Didn't he heal? Weren't the spring seeds planted? Didn't the night end? Didn't the melting ice flood the narrow gutters? Wasn't my body rescued? Wasn't it safe? Didn't the scar form, invisible above the injury? Terror and cold. Didn't they just end? Wasn't the back garden harrowed and planted? I remember how the earth felt, red and dense, in stiff rows. Weren't the seeds planted? Didn't vines climb the south wall? I can't hear your voice for the wind's cries, whistling over the bare ground. I no longer care what sound it makes. When was I silenced? When did it first seem pointless to describe that sound? What it sounds like can't change what it is. Didn't the night end? Wasn't the earth safe when it was planted? Didn't we plant the seeds? Weren't we necessary to the earth? The vines, were they harvested? When was I silent? When did it first seem pointless to describe that sound? What it sounds like can't change what it is. Didn't the night end? Wasn't the earth safe when it was planted? Didn't we plant the seeds? Weren't we necessary to the earth? The vines, were they harvested? So is there a line or a phrase that just jumps out at you from those words?
Yes.
Go ahead.
When was I silenced?
Necessary to the earth.
I remember how the earth felt.
What it sounds like can't change what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weren't we necessary to the earth?
Wasn't my body rescued? So I'm going to suggest as a prompt that we either use I remember how the earth felt, or when was I silenced? And we'll write for 4 minutes. So go ahead and mute yourselves while you're writing. Again, the prompts either when was I silenced, or I remember how the earth felt. Is there someone who would like to read? So I'm going to read this Mary Oliver poem called Some Questions You Might Ask. Is the soul solid like iron? Or is it tender and breakable, like the wings of a moth in the beak of the owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape like an iceberg? Like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have it and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons and their shining leaves? What about the grass? Is the soul solid like iron? Or is it tender and breakable like the wings of a moth in the beak of the owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape like an iceberg, like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have it and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons and their shining leaves? What about grass?
Black bear cat leaves.
All the
Is-
little stones sitting alone in the moonlight.
Is solid like iron?
One question leads to another.
Does it have one lung like the snake and the scallop?
Does it have shape?
Come to think of it, what about the maple trees?
What about the grass?
Really, what about the grass? So as our prompt, we can use what about, or what is the question that you really want to ask? If Mary Oliver's question is the soul solid? What is your question? And start with that. And we'll write for another 4 minutes. So, what are the questions you might ask? Love these lines that just we allow to come through. So it happens when we stop the thinking. Thank you all again, as always. Every time I tell someone else in the world about these groups, they're always just like amazed, like what an amazing idea that people come together and just listen and write with each other and form this incredible community around these words. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please keep sending the poems that come through you.